Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Internet of Things Made Simple. I'm Larry Humour. Well, we're back, baby, at least for today anyways. Like a lot of people, I've had some other things to focus on and had to put the podcast on hold. I'm not back on a regular schedule, but I wanted to do this episode as it is unfortunately quite timely. Before I get started, since most of us have just a bit more time on our hands, maybe check out some of our extensive back catalog of episodes, as well as our webpage, the Internet of Things MadeSimple.com. Go figure, it has some great material on IoT. Today we're going to talk about the 4 reasons why using a cellular data gateway is the better way for your valued employees to work remote. It's much better than their home internet connection at this point. The reasons will be applicable to just about any worker working remotely, but especially for those who are required to transmit and receive sensitive material that you would normally never let be sent over the internet. But as we know, this is not a normal time. I'm recording this on March 20th, at a time when an incredible number of people are not only working from home, but are also on home lockdowns. We'll start by looking at one reason, or maybe more than one, in many households, hint hint, why your internet is just not as fast as it used to be. As you might have guessed, the reason why your internet is slowed down, and the first reason to use cellular data for remote workers, is that their kids are frickin' hogging all the internet bandwidth. Even during times when they can do other things like go and play or even go to school, your kids are frickin' data hogs. Most of their reasons for being alive involve huge amounts of bandwidth. Whether it's downloading Netflix shows, uploading Instagram videos and Snapchat whatever, or watching the world's stupidest videos on YouTube, they are data hogs. It's worse now than ever though. Between them having more time on their hands and the fact that they're no longer using cellular data to access these freaking things while away from home, your internet connection at home is taking a pounding. And it's not just yours. ISPs everywhere are struggling to keep home internet services running at full speeds or even partial speeds. Just look at the ask of Netflix to slow down their delivery and move everything to standard definition. Many areas are seeing slowdowns, or heaven forbid, disconnections or drops or interruptions to services. While cellular data networks don't have infinite amounts of capacity, they're a bit underutilized right now. Your kids aren't at school, sneaking a peek at their phones when they're supposed to be in class. And they have plenty of capacity to support your work traffic. 4G connections offer a beautiful platform to access corporate information, perform some video chats, and to do so without being slowed down by your kids posting on Instagram how bored they are. They are also great to have around in the event of an outage, which is point number 2. For well over a decade now, smart businesses have been using cellular gateways as a method of backing up their main internet connection in the event of a disruption of any kind to their main connection. This is especially true for healthcare offices like doctors' offices, retail, restaurants, data centers, and more. Now they can be used to back up your key employees' landline connections in the same manner. Most of the work to monitor the main landline connection and a possible switch over to a cellular connection is done by a router that they might very well have in their home today. So even if you choose not to have your employee use cellular connectivity as the main way of accessing the internet, in point number 1, perhaps you're worried about them running up a large cellular data bill if they're heavy video users, as an example. It is a great way to keep things running at all times. And you might wonder, well, my landline internet connection is quite reliable at home. I'm really not worried. As I mentioned earlier, those networks are more heavily used than ever before, even perhaps more than your provider anticipated. This raises your chance of an outage. With all of your team working remote and only able to communicate with key customers, suppliers, and other employees online, can you really afford to take that risk? As I hinted earlier, many people who would normally never be allowed to work from home, mainly for security reasons, have also been forced to do so. In point number 3, we're going to show you how you can keep them working while still maintaining your very high level of required security. While every business and government agency needs to protect all of their data at all times, it's even more vital if your employees work with very sensitive data. It could be scientific research, it could be a judge or district attorney or any lawyer, I guess, working from home. Maybe they're in the military or do work with the military, or maybe they're working with confidential healthcare-based data. Whatever the information is, it's vital you keep it secure. But how do you keep it secure without knowing what setups they may have at home on their internet connection? Yeah, you can use VPNs to secure the data transmission, but how do you prevent attacks on their home networks, maybe viruses or other things that could happen? The easiest way is to use Cellular Gateway. Here's the quick reasons why. First, they're easy for your IT teams to set up. Try saying that quickly. Most devices allow you to use scripts to both quickly set them up with uniform settings as well as to lock down internet access. Next, they can be locked down by your data provider to only allow data to be transmitted to and from a secure server and not to access the public internet. Third, they can be set up in the employee's home in seconds by the employees themselves. It probably takes longer to find something to open the box than it does to set it up. You're really just attaching an antenna. There's no tools required, and please don't use tools anyway, so just your fingertips is fine. Finally, after this crisis passes, again, try saying that quickly, they can be easily returned and stored for any future crisis or used in the manner listed on the next reason. For the final reason, let's start with a positive thought. We haven't had many of those lately. We all know this will pass. I know it doesn't feel like it. You might feel stressed all the time more than usual. Perhaps your run, like I do, doesn't really take away the stress like it used to. This will pass. And when it finally does pass, many people will be so enamored with how well their business and their employees were able to work using cellular data, they will choose to cut the cord and use cellular data as the primary method of accessing the internet. Let's be clear, it's not ideal for every business situation or even for every location of a business. Landlines are still preferable if you use a lot of heavy traffic. However, they are costly to set up. Landlines are not always easy to install or even set up in certain locations and often have long lead times to set up. If your location doesn't use heavy amounts of traffic, is seasonal or temporary in nature, perhaps you're open for a couple months or it's a construction site, or if you're using that connection to communicate with a remote piece of equipment like a bank machine or a kiosk, most will find a better value in using cellular-based communications. To wrap this up, I expect that by the end of this crisis, most businesses will either have a cellular-based connection as their main method of accessing the internet, or will at least be using it to back up their main line. This crisis has shown more than ever your business cannot function without a reliable internet connection anymore, regardless of what business you are in or how big your company is. Okay, so let's close this out now. To recap, your employees working remotely, many of which may have to do so for weeks or, gasp, even months, need a steady and reliable method of accessing the internet. Whether you decide to use cellular-based communications as their main method of accessing the internet, or just as a backup, its value is difficult to question now. The same goes for your main business office, even if it's unfortunately closed as you are listening to this. Many businesses can possibly use cellular connectivity in place of their main landline internet connection, but every business should be using cellular to back up their main line. Before I go, some of you may be wondering about 5G, which will offer tremendous speeds to virtually allow any business to cut their main line even if you are a heavy traffic user. If you want to learn more about how you can plan your move towards 5G, again, perhaps you have some time on your hands, I might suggest you listen to mini episode 18, which was from May 29th of 2019. This outlines how you can eventually make the move. However, don't plan on moving to 5G anytime soon, as we outlined in much more detail in mini episode 5 from January 2nd of 2019. Okay, we're done now, so take care, stay safe, and talk soon. I'm Larry by Humour.